Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Let me ask you something right off the bat. If you're handing over your absolute most sensitive financial data, your business records, and essentially your legal liability to someone else, how certain are you that they're actually qualified? I mean, absolutely certain. The financial and legal stakes of accidentally hiring an unverified, unqualified tax professional are frankly massive. A simple mistake could literally cost you thousands in penalties, or, much worse.
Get this, the error rate on a paper tax return is a staggering 21%. 21%. Compare that to the e-file error rate, which is a scant 0.5%. This huge gap illustrates exactly why an authorized verified pro with secure e-filing capabilities is absolutely essential to your financial health. It's just too important to leave up to chance.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a clear roadmap today. We're going to cover why verify your CPA, understanding the licensing authorities, our step-by-step verification guide, overcoming common verification challenges, real-world verification scenarios, and finally, tips for further assurance.
Starting right off with Section 1, why verify your CPA? The stakes of unverified professionals. A lot of folks use financial titles interchangeably, but the difference between these credentials brilliantly illustrates why you need to know exactly who you're hiring. The title of Certified Public Accountant carries significant legal and financial weight. A state-licensed CPA is uniquely authorized to issue audited financial reports and has passed incredibly rigorous exams to get there. An enrolled agent, on the other hand, is federally licensed by the IRS and specializes purely in tax code, collections, and appeals. So, if you're a business needing a formal audit, an EA simply cannot legally provide that service. You absolutely need a verified CPA. And here is why having that verified expertise is basically your shield. While the baseline individual audit risk is quite low, we're talking less than 0.625%, your risk actually doubles to 1.25% if your income is over $200,000. If you report over $1 million, well, that risk jumps to 4%. And remember this crucial fact, even if your accountant prepares the return, you are personally on the hook for any errors and penalties. A verified CPA is, without a doubt, your best defense against the IRS.
Moving into Section 2, understanding the licensing authorities. Who exactly sets the rules in Massachusetts?
Before we can check a license, we kind of need to know who actually enforces the rules and issues these powerful credentials, right? In Massachusetts, the primary gatekeeper is the Massachusetts Board of Public Accountancy. They operate under the Division of Occupational Licensure, or the DOL. Now, this board doesn't just hand out certificates like candy. They rigorously evaluate a candidate's education, their professional experience, and even their moral character before ever issuing an active CPA license. They're the ultimate state authority protecting consumers like us.
But, of course, the accounting world doesn't stop at the state line. That's where NASBA, the National Association of State Boards of Accountancy, comes into play. They maintain this incredibly powerful tool called CPA Verify. It's an aggregate database fed directly by up to 54 state and territorial jurisdictions. It provides crucial national oversight. Basically, it ensures that a CPA can't just lose their license in one state for doing something sketchy and then quietly set up shop in another.
All right, on to Section 3, our step-by-step verification guide, how to check credentials like a pro.
Now, what's really interesting about this procedure is just how simple it is once you know exactly where to look. We're going to verify credentials like a professional compliance officer today. Here is your 4-step tutorial. Step 1. Gather the CPA's full legal name and ideally their license number. Step 2. Plug that information into Massachusetts' eLipsy digital licensing portal to check their local active status. Step 3. Take that exact same name over to the National CPA Verify database to check for any cross-border disciplinary actions. And finally, Step 4. Review the DOL's quarterly disciplinary reports to ensure you catch any very recent infractions that might not have updated in the search engines yet.
And keep in mind just how much work goes into getting your name into those databases in the first place. Candidates have to prove they've completed 150 hours of higher education before they can even sit at the table to take the exam. It's a strict baseline, and it guarantees a deep, solid foundation of financial knowledge.
Quick side note here, though. If you need verification for formal legal proceedings, or maybe you're setting up a strict corporate compliance file, a simple web search printout isn't going to cut it. You must request an official certified license history. You do this through the eLib system via the MyMassGov portal, and there's a small $15 administrative fee. Doing this generates a legally defensible document directly from the board. let's tackle Section 4, Overcoming Common Verification Challenges, or as I like to call it, Navigating Bureaucratic Edge Cases. Because let's be real, what happens when things aren't perfectly straightforward? Let's navigate a few edge cases you might run into. Here are the main obstacles to watch out for. First, evaluating firm licenses versus individual licenses. Second, you might have to navigate out-of-state CPA mobility laws if you're hiring remote help. Third, you've got to account for administrative delays in portal updates. The internet isn't always instantly synced with reality, right? And lastly, just understanding that the state recently transitioned from legacy systems to the new cloud-based eLIPS portal.
Let's break down that first challenge. The crucial thing to remember is that verifying the individual accountant is only half the battle. Under Massachusetts Regulation 252 CMR4, if your accountant is working under a corporate entity or a partnership, that firm itself must also hold a separate active firm license. So both the individual and the firm need to be clean and active in the eLIPS system.
Next up is the challenge of out-of-state talent. Massachusetts utilizes a really cool rule called substantial equivalency. It's a fantastic mobility law that basically allows an out-of-state CPA to practice legally in Massachusetts without getting a local license, provided their home state's educational and ethical standards match Massachusetts. It cuts right through the bureaucratic jargon and means you have the freedom to hire top out-of-state talent legally and safely.
So, let's bring this to life in Section 5, Real-World Verification Scenarios. Applying the framework.
Depending on who you hire, your verification path changes. Let's look at 3 practical scenarios. First, if you're hiring a local Massachusetts solo CPA, you check all 3, MA eLIPS, CPA Verify, and the DOL reports. Second, if you're hiring a local firm, you do the exact same thing, but you check eLIPS for both the individual and the firm itself. Now third, if you're utilizing that mobility role to hire an out-of-state CPA, they won't be in the local eLIPS or DOL reports. For them, the National CPA Verify database becomes your primary and most critical tool.
And I really want to reiterate that warning regarding administrative delays. Always cross-reference the active public database with the DOL's quarterly disciplinary actions reports. Sometimes, it takes a few weeks for a formal suspension order to actually reflect in the search engine. That quarterly spreadsheet is absolutely essential for catching very recent infractions and making sure your professional is truly in good standing.
And finally, Section 6, Tips for Further Assurance. These are your final steps in due diligence.
Okay, so we verified the state license, but there are a few extra layers of due diligence you can seek for total peace of mind. Beyond the CPA license, you should absolutely request their IRS-issued PTN, which is mandatory for anyone preparing federal returns for compensation. You also want to verify they have an EFIN, an electronic filing ID, to ensure they can safely e-file your return and avoid that 21% paper error rate we talked about earlier. Ask about their memberships in professional bodies like the AICPA, which strongly signals high ethical standards. And finally, ensure they have transparent upfront pricing methodologies so you don't get hit with any surprise fees after the fact. Before we wrap things up today, I do need to provide this quick professional disclaimer. The information provided in this explainer is intended for educational guidance. Always consult professional or legal advice for your specific financial situations. We're here to empower you as a consumer, but your specific situation is unique to you.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are you absolutely certain the financial professional handling your most sensitive data is legally authorized to do so? Well, you now have the exact framework, the databases, and the know-how to verify a Massachusetts CPA like an absolute pro. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Take 10 minutes and verify your professional today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy verifying.